Hello, you're welcome back to my channel. If you're just joining us for the first time, you're highly welcome. And if you have been with us, you're also welcome. Earlier this week, we're talking about what discipline is not. So if you've not watched that video, please, it's good you watch it so that you can flow through. Today, we're going right to chapter 4. We want to know what kind of discipline works. I still remain your host, Amarachi Eze. I will start with this quote by Amy McCready. She said, "The most effective discipline strategies are those that proactively prepare a child so the parents doesn't have to reactively respond." So any disciplinary strategy that will prepare your child ahead of time to know how to act so that the parents will not reactively respond, that's an effective disciplinary strategy. I will explain this quote further with an example. Most parents today want to lock their children indoors so that they don't learn bad habits from other children. But as a parent, to proactively prepare your child instead of keeping them indoors, you have to teach them to make friends that share the same values with them, because they will definitely leave your home someday. So if you don't prepare them ahead of time, when they leave, they will need to choose friends. And because they are not prepared, they may make bad friends. In this book, people share their experiences of the kind of discipline that their parents use and its impact on them. I will pick some of these experiences so that we can learn through it. My parents did their best and provided clothing, shelter, food, and all that we needed for education. However, they failed greatly in showing us adequate love and creating time for us. They also did badly in the method of discipline they adopted. Growing up, I met a dad and mom who had the same idea as regards discipline. Whatever method of discipline one adopted at the time, the other gave complete support, whether good or bad. Oftentimes, it was usually an unproductive method of discipline. Discipline from my parents made us grow up with fear, lack of courage, hypocrisy. Respect was only out of fear, timidity, 50% academic failure, lack of self-esteem, and no self-love. We were raised with total control. The unsaid rule was, you don't have any choice to make as long as you are a child. And this truly left us with no choice at all. Anything goes, whether it favors us or not. We were left with no voice, and this affected us beyond our immediate environment. And because I was not raised to speak for myself, countless times I watched people take advantage of me. My rights were taken because my parents didn't give me the ground to stand for myself. At school, I lacked the courage to show up for lectures oftentimes. Timidity almost destroyed me academically. Because I was raised with fear, I have stayed in relationships with an opposite sex that I didn't want but couldn't speak out or even call it off. I have been intimidated by girls like me because they knew I lacked the courage to confront them. In fact, discipline for my parents was military training. Mom was a yeller and a beater. She spanked for every little error we made. A little mistake, whether age appropriate, deliberate or not, you were certain of being beaten. My mom's favorite Bible verse was, "Spare the rod and spoil the child." She used the rod very well because she couldn't want to spoil us. In her words, she would yell, beat, and leave you confused and feeling more stupid than when you committed the mistake. She disciplined us, yes, but left us with scars in the process. I guess this was because my parents never learned what discipline truly was. They assumed they were doing it right because parenting was not taught. Mommy thought she was raising us well, but unknown to her, she did us more harm than good. Nevertheless, it was mom who spared little time for us, not dad. Even though this was mostly while doing chores in the kitchen. Daddy, on the other hand, was a no-nonsense man. He was harshly harsh, the controller general of the home. His commands were yea and amen. A father who never created time for his children. A dad who never played with us once. His face was always firm and scary. He did not smile or laugh with us. The fear of him we had wouldn't let us want to have him around. We were always scared of his presence. A dad who only communicated with us when we erred, and this communication was done with a rod or by yelling. We were never raised or encouraged for anything good, but we were readily beaten for our errors. Fail your exams, and my dad will tell you words that will leave you feeling worthless and questioning your true paternity. Will my real dad come home for me someday? I often ask out of sheer exasperation. My dad will make you feel you are good for nothing, leaving you emotionally sick. His way of child rearing and discipline was totally bad and far from what it should have been. Did I even tell you we were not allowed to visit relatives, let alone keep friends? It was that bad. Your going out there will make you become wayward, they said. Yet, we were sent to school. Can you imagine? This was the method of discipline my parents adopted, and they left us with lots of scars. Physical, psychological, and emotional scars. We still suffer the effects of their ill discipline, though we hope to learn and not do the same to our children. Unfortunately, my elder sister is already raising her children in almost the same way, but I hope to gift her with the book Connect to Correct so as to help her train better. Someone's story, and I believe most of us have similar stories as this. So with all the outcome and impact of the discipline strategies used by these parents, would you say that they achieved their aim? They may have made the child behave as they wanted, but what about the scars it left on the child? And I believe some of us listening now have similar experiences, including myself. This is what gave me the zeal and passion doing what I'm doing now. So, let's see the core components of discipline that works. According to Mary Ann David, author of the book Building Class Discipline, there are different types of discipline. We have the preventive discipline, supportive discipline, corrective discipline. So let's know what all this type of discipline focus on. Preventive discipline focuses on preventing strategies that will help divert misbehaviors. Supportive discipline is about supporting the misbehaving child with skills to work on their wrong behavior. While corrective discipline is about dealing with the misbehaviors directly. Preventive discipline focuses on providing strategies that will help divert misbehavior. Just for instance, you teach a child friendship skills so that when he goes out, be it in school or when he mixes with other children, he's able to choose friends with the same values. So it will prevent misbehaviors most times from occurring. While supportive discipline is about supporting the misbehaving child with skills to work on the wrong behavior. For instance, the misbehavior has already happened. So you need to support this child on better ways, like we are talking about anger, emotion. So you teach them better ways on how to manage those angers so that it could stop those wrong behaviors. And corrective discipline is about dealing with the misbehavior directly. So in corrective, you find out this is a misbehavior. You find out what's the root cause. Then learn how to manage that misbehavior. I will also share a story from this book. It will help us explain better these three components of the discipline that works. This is a story a client also shared in this book. Said, my adopted daughter is 11 years, but she steals. It started with stealing food. Someone said maybe she doesn't get enough food or hasn't been eating such foods. because I brought her from the village. I then made sure she ate 3 meals and other snacks, as the case may be. But she has started stealing money to buy things in school. Please, what should I do? I have flogged, punished, and also read stories to her. In fact, I've taught her Exodus 20, verse 15. This is the response from the altar. A child is built up in values and many other things from ages 1 to 10 years. So, training actually happens between this age bracket. After this time, any other thing you try to inculcate outside their original training may prove tough. However, this is not to say you can't correct misbehaviors after they are past 10 years. I am only preparing your mind for what you are up against. You need to reassure this girl of love and acceptance. I know that many times you will be tempted to condemn and judge her, and eventually get run over by emotions and never actually understand why this is happening. This takes me to the next point. Why? Why is she taking the money? Now, the misbehavior is not the real problem. The real problem is what is causing the misbehavior. I usually use the iceberg theory to describe this. What you are seeing is less than 10% of the actual things that are happening. Have you even thought of the possibility that she could be using the money to buy something like drugs? Which is even worse than, hey, you're a thief. So find out what is behind this behavior. It could be anything. Next, have an open mind to really accept this girl and work on her. How I advise to deal with this is to imagine you had a child and she got missing, but was later somehow sent back to you. I have a foster daughter, and trust me, before I could get results with her, I had to really work on my acceptance and love for her. Make her create a vision and goal for life. You can make her build a vision board. Deliberately build up her skills. Use an activity to distract her. Now, what this will do is to make her focus on the positive. Also use affirmations for her. Look for positive words and make her speak to herself every day. Include, I am satisfied with my life. I am contented with who I am. Paste them on a wall for her where she can see and affirm them every day. Remember, words cast spells. Equip yourself with more knowledge to raise her. Parenting is about you. Whatever result you will have will come from how much you invest in your parenting growth. If you have this mentality, then helping your daughter will be easy. Pray for her, but remember to work as you pray. The Bible says God's people perish for lack of knowledge, not prayers. Remember, every disciplinary tool you are using must also be supportive to your child. Because what you're seeking to achieve is to help that child learn and grow holistically. Misbehaviors come in different forms, so they require different approaches. However, for your discipline to be termed effective, it has to be laced with the following core components. 1. A healthy relationship with your child. Discipline without relationship leads to bitterness, anger, and resentment. For instance, the story I just read out. If the woman was not able to connect with this child, do you think the child will eventually listen? Your child will be much more motivated to listen to what you have to say when he respects your opinion. The next component, lasting authority, is respect and trust, not force and control. The need for a healthy relationship with children stretches beyond biological parenting. Anyone who has a good relationship with a child, be it step-parents, teachers, daycare providers, will be much more effective in disciplining their child. A child was forced to sit down. He sat down and said, "Even though I am sitting down, but in my mind, I am standing. So you see, for such a child, once you are out of sight, he stands up. That's what force and control does. Some people will tell you their children, if you like, cry. After crying, you do what I say. The child learns nothing by doing this. A young adult says he never really understood why he shouldn't behave a certain way. He was just afraid of his parents, and that didn't help him because by the time he saw himself in the university, he couldn't lead himself. So lasting authority is respect and trust, not force and control. Force and control will only make the child do that thing at that time, but he will not learn. He will not learn to lead himself when he's found alone. Next component is that true discipline instills self-discipline and teaches a child to lead himself. Don't raise children to control their lives. You teach them values. Did you just hear that? You teach them to do the right thing and see themselves soar. The greatest way to do this is to build a healthy relationship with them in order to influence them. So you see, we don't birth children to control them. Do this, do that. But instead, we teach them because soon they'll become adults. And when they are adults and they don't learn, and they did not learn when they were under your care, it will be difficult for them. And the only way we can do this is to build healthy relationship with them so that we're able to influence their lives. Next is that discipline must be a teaching tool. If discipline is reserved for correcting misbehavior only, it won't be effective. Most times, what we do is to tell your child, stop that, don't do this, you are in timeout. We do this without teaching them the correct behavior, what to do. He won't learn. So what we need to start doing is reduce our don'ts. Don't do this, don't do that. And teach what to do. This will help them not to repeat those mistakes again. To really help a child change his behavior, discipline should be used as a teaching tool. That means helping your child identify what to do instead. So rather than tell him not to hit his sister, make sure you invest time into teaching him how to resolve conflicts peacefully. If your discipline doesn't teach up front, it failed. The next component is that discipline must be consistent. To be effective, discipline needs to be applied consistently. For example, if you place your child on timeout, for every single time he behaves aggressively towards his sister, he will soon link the consequence to his misbehavior. Over time, he will recognize that hitting leads to consequences that he doesn't want. However, if you only put your son on a timeout once out of every 4 times he hits his sister, it's not going to stop hitting her. After all, it's worth the risk, since there is only a small chance that he will get into any trouble. This can also confuse your children as to what is required, because they are not exactly sure why they should not continue the behavior. Children like to try limits and boundaries, so provided there is a chance, they will take the risk. Next component is immediate consequences. Even though discipline is not an emergency, there are some instances you need to give immediate consequence to a child's misbehavior. This will help your child connect the dots between their misbehavior and certain consequences. For instance, a child lied about something, and the consequence is for the child to lose television privileges. And you wait till after some days, the consequences may not be as effective. Avoid statements like, wait until your father gets home. This will mean that consequences will be served several hours later, and it will be less effective then, and also puts less authority on you, the mother. Another component is your consequences must be fair. In your discipline, remember that whatever consequence you choose must be fair. Take, for instance, your child who will usually wash dishes after meal forgets to do so one day. You take away TV privileges for her for 2 weeks. Your child will likely perceive that as an unfair consequence. He might even try to sneak in some TV time when you're not around. Your child is not likely to abide by the consequences if he thinks it isn't fair. So in summary, effective discipline aims to modify children's behavior. It aims to develop their characters. It aims to protect their mental health and help you develop a close relationship with them. So let us examine the discipline strategies we're using right now in our home. Does he have all these components? Are they able to modify your child's behavior? Do they help your child develop character-wise? Do they protect your child's mental health? Do they help your child develop a close relationship with you? Or they only put fear in your child and make them not to continue that behavior, or it makes them get far away from you? So let's examine that and change the disciplinary strategies we're using. Next week, we're going to be giving details on the tools for the discipline that works. If you want to get those disciplinary strategies that are effective, that will help you connect more with your children, then don't miss next review. Come Monday on the 17th of April. We have finally come to the end of this review. Drop your comments. It will be appreciated. If you have questions, also drop your questions in the comment section. You can also join us in the WhatsApp group. It's easier to answer questions and we'll get more clarity on that platform. Thank you for your time. It is well appreciated. I love you. I honor you. See you same time next week. And finally, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please hit the subscribe button. Also hit your notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime new videos drop. Remember, I'm rooting for you. See you.